Amin Hurst was just 16 years old when he was arrested in April of 2021. Amin was part of a group called 616, a gang from West Philadelphia responsible for a lot of the bloodshed throughout the city. Amin has made himself the most known and recognized individual from that set. He has been charged with killing 4 people and injuring 2 others in 3 shootings between December 2020 and March 2021. The first shooting occurred on the morning of Christmas Eve in 2020 as 20-year-old Daru Scruggs was walking and filming himself on Instagram Live, police say. Hurst ran up and shot him multiple times, leaving even his phone riddled with bullets.
Sao go ahead, bro? Bro, go ahead and lock.
When detectives watched surveillance footage of the shooting, court records say one detective recognized the shooter as Hurst, a teen he'd previously arrested for gun-related crimes. Law enforcement had been monitoring Hurst's social media for months as he was a known affiliate of 616 in the West Philadelphia and Overbrook area, the records say. Less than 3 months later, on March 11, 2021, police say Hurst shot 4 men sitting in the car on the 1400 block of North 76th Street. Naquan Smith, 24, and Tamir Brown, 17, were killed, and 2 others were seriously wounded.
And a quadruple shooting sprayed homes with bullets, killing 1 person in Overbrook Park. Shawnette, what have you learned about this?
Well, Shayna, 4 people, as you mentioned, were shot. They were all taken to the hospital by private car. We do know that 1 has died. An investigator on scene describes to me that this looked like a running gun battle.
Police later recovered a recording they believed to be Hurst admitting to the shootings. "Pick your man Tamir up, bro," Hurst said, according to court records. "I ate him up in that will." In addition, the records say 8 hours after the shooting, one of Hurst's friends messaged him about the killings. Hurst allegedly replied, "I did it." Then, just 1 week later, police say Hurst killed 20-year-old Rodney Hargrove near the front gates of the Curran Fromhold Correctional Facility. Hargrove had been released from jail less than an hour earlier and was waiting outside for relatives to pick him up, police say. Hurst pulled up in a car and shot him multiple times. Authorities now believe the shooting was a case of mistaken identity. In an affidavit of probable cause for Hurst's arrest in that case, prosecutors said that while he's facing charges for an earlier murder, he essentially confessed to shooting Hargrove while talking to a relative on a recorded phone line. "I thought that was Sid. We got the wrong nigga though," Hurst said, according to court documents. The Sid he's referring to in this case is Sidney Sessoms, who was later allegedly killed by YBC members. After Hurst's arrest, police say they also connected him to 2 robberies. He was charged with robbery, illegal gun possession, and conspiracy and related offenses in those cases. He was being held without bail and had a status listing before a judge scheduled for June. Nasir Grant was arrested in September and charged with 6 counts of illegal gun possession, manufacturing and delivering drugs, receiving stolen property, conspiracy, and related charges. He was being held on $500,000 bail and had a jury trial scheduled for January 2024. That all sets the stage for Monday, May 8, 2023 at the Philadelphia Industrial Correctional Center.
Street has made flash information on escaped prisoners from PIC 8301 State Road. One for a black male, 5'8", 110 pounds, 18 years old, wearing a blue prison uniform. Second's going to be 5'8", 140 pounds, 28 years old, also wearing a blue prison's uniform. Occurred about 8:30 p.m. last night. Last known addresses are going to be 937 Flounders Road.
Local police and the feds on the hunt for these two men you see right here. They say they escaped prison late last night. Now, one of those men accused of killing 4 people in 3 different shootings.
A head count was conducted at 3 p.m. due to other inmates informing the COs that 2 inmates possibly escaped custody. As a result of this information, a head count was conducted and it was discovered that Amin and Nasir were missing. They were not accounted for on the H1 unit. All areas were checked and the yard patrol was activated. Upon checking the rec yard, a hole was discovered in the fence leading to the street. A video review was conducted and it was observed that on Sunday, May 7th at approximately 8:30 p.m., Amin and Nasir were able to keep their door from locking and exit their housing unit that was unmanned due to staff shortage and squeezed through the hole in the yard and climbed over the fence. Both were able to leave the prison undetected because of guard tower and other posts being closed due to staff shortage. That was the preliminary report given the day the escape was discovered. The whole unit that Amin and Nasir were staying in was completely unstaffed that night. 2 critical posts outside, armed perimeter patrol, and the armed post at the gate to the back road known as Post 13 were also unstaffed, and the 2 men escaped undetected. After they snuck out of H unit, they climbed over 2 other fences topped with barbed wire, leaving behind blood and bloody clothes. A prison official said those posts have been unmanned for nearly a year now. Staff conducted 3 inmate counts before it was realized that Grant and Hurst were gone. Ziani Stallings of North Philadelphia was called twice on a recorded jail line by Amin Hurst about 5 p.m. that Sunday, just hours before Hurst and his co-conspirator broke out a pick through a hole in a chain-link fence, according to an affidavit. During the calls, Stallings connected Hurst with a man who discussed picking him up at the bridge behind the jail. Stallings was arraigned on May 12th on charges including conspiracy and hindering apprehension. Bail was set at $500,000, but the hunt for Amin Hurst and Nasir Grant continued. On May 12th, the very next day, Nasir Grant was captured in North Philadelphia after U.S. Marshals say they received information about where he was staying. They then saw him getting into a car while disguised in women's Muslim garb. He was charged with an additional count of escape and taken to Bucks County Jail on $10 million bail, court records show. Jose Alberto Flores Huerta, who was incarcerated for allegedly participating in a fatal beating outside of Pax King Estates in 2021, is expected to be charged with crimes including conspiracy and escape, the police department said in a statement. Police declined to provide additional details about Flores Huerta's alleged role in the breakout. 21-year-old Chiefy Scull is expected to be charged with helping secure the transportation for Amin Hurst and Nasir Grant, authorities said. Michael Abrams was expected to face charges including escape, hindering apprehension, and conspiracy, police said. Additional details about his alleged role in the crime were not immediately available. Deputy Police Commissioner Frank Venor said Abrams, who was arrested Monday, May 15th in Berwyn, was a member of 616. Finally, on May 18th, Amin was arrested by U.S. Marshals on the 6100 block of Washington Avenue. Agents have been running down tips across Pennsylvania, Delaware, and New York in their search. And on Tuesday, May 16th, Amin Hurst's mom got in touch with law enforcement to negotiate a surrender, but Hurst did not turn himself in on 3 separate occasions over the next 18 hours. Clark said, leading marshals to set up surveillance early Wednesday morning at locations where they thought Hurst might be. Around 8:30 a.m., agents saw Hurst getting into a car on Washington Avenue with several other people. Agents then stopped the car, saw Hurst, and arrested him without incident. One of the other people in the car was Hurst's brother, Amir Woods, along with the driver being his mom. Hurst's arrest came as something of a relief for authorities after a series of embarrassing revelations over the past week and a half about his ability to escape from the jails undetected. Woods was taken into custody and charged with criminal conspiracy, escape, hindering apprehension, and related crimes, police say. Authorities are continuing to investigate whether the escape was actively assisted by any employees or if it was instead just enabled by ongoing staffing shortages that have plagued the jails for years. So let's put this all together. An initial act of importance happened around 5:15 p.m. on May 7th. The charging documents say when Hurst called 21-year-old Ziani Stallings to make arrangements for where he should be picked up later that night. During the calls, the documents say Stallings connected Hurst with a man who discussed picking him up at the bridge behind the jail. Hours after that, the documents say the prisoners serving as a lookout, Jose Alberto Flores Huerta, incarcerated for allegedly participating in a fatal beating outside Pat's King Estates, as I said earlier, checked for guards on the H unit, where Grant, Hurst, and himself were staying. Hurst and Grant crawled toward the shower area, and Flores Huerta gave them a signal when the coast was cleared. Hurst and Grant were then able to get into the prison yard, authorities said, and snuck through a hole in the chain link fence before climbing over two other fences lined with barbed wire. Once the men left the prison grounds, charging documents say they got into an Uber linked to Stallings' account and were driven to North Philadelphia. During the Uber ride, Hurst called 21-year-old Michael Abrams, or Chiefy Sco, and authorities believe the two men eventually met up and went on the lam. Over the next several days, police arrested Stallings and Flores Huerta, and both were charged with crimes including escape. While Stallings was in jail, she made calls to friends on recorded phone lines asking them to tell Sco and Hurst not to do anything wrong because she might be charged for it. Abrams was arrested by U.S. Marshals at a hotel in Berwyn, police said, and he was charged with counts including escape and hindering apprehension. His bail was set at $1 million. A day after Abrams' arrest, Hurst's relative got in touch with authorities. He was in custody the next day. Beyond the escape, Hurst is accused of the 4 killings, as we mentioned earlier, and critically injuring 2 others in 3 separate shootings in less than 3 months. The escape occurred less than a week after the Correctional Officers Union entered a vote of no confidence in Commissioner Blanche Carney's leadership. They said she had failed to adequately respond to a staffing crisis that has risen to more than 800 vacancies, or 40% short of the full complement. Philadelphia Industrial Correctional Center, or PIC, is part of a jail complex that houses 4,300 people on State Road in Northeast Philadelphia. The jails have been subject to a monitor appointed by a federal judge since last year in response to a class action lawsuit alleging inhumane and unconstitutional prison conditions.
Today we are learning new information about the escape of 2 inmates from a Philadelphia prison. Both Nasir Grant and Amin Hurst are back behind bars tonight. Matt Petrillo joining us now. And Matt, you have been talking with sources. You got your hands on the escape affidavit. So what'd you find?
Well, today we learned that an Uber driver actually picked up those 2 after their escape. We also learned that part of the plan was executed in just 3 hours. The escape was set into motion on Sunday, May 7th, according to an affidavit of probable cause filed with the court. At 5:15 and 5:32 in the evening, the affidavit shows Amin Hurst called a phone number. During the call, police say an unknown man joins the line and says, "Meet at the bridge behind Philadelphia Industrial Correctional Center." About 3 hours later, at 8:30, the affidavit states 2 prisoners can be observed on video leaving through a hole in the fence of the outside yard. From there, the 2 escapees were able to climb over 2 additional barbed wire fences. Police say those 2 prisoners, Amin Hurst and Nazir Grant. There's still questions about how they were able to leave the facility. I asked the prison department exactly when the hole was cut into the fence. They told me the escape is still under investigation. Sources say the escapees were able to change clothes outside the prison. The affidavit shows after leaving the prison, the inmates met an Uber driver. According to the affidavit, an Uber account using the first name Ziani was used to make arrangements for Hurst and Grant to be picked up from the intersection of Tyson and Frankfurt Avenues. That's about 2 miles from the prison, and sources say the escapees walked there. And police say Ziani, the name on the Uber account, is the same name associated with the cell phone Amin Hurst called while he was in prison shortly before the escape. Police say during the Uber ride, Hurst called 21-year-old Michael Abrams, who police say is associated with the same gang that Hurst also allegedly belongs to. The Uber took them to 15th and Jackson Streets in South Philly, where sources say the 2 inmates went their separate ways. Sources say from there, one of the inmates, Amin Hurst, met up with his brother, Amir Woods, and Michael Abrams, the alleged gang member police say Hurst called from the Uber. Sources say the 3 went to New York City. All of this happened, and prison staff still had not realized anyone had escaped. It's not clear how they stayed in New York City, but this matches what investigators said Wednesday.
Our future investigation here took us to 3 states. It took us obviously here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, it took us down to Delaware, and it took us up to New York. So we had credible tips in all 3 places.
Both inmates were caught a few days after the escape. Grant was arrested 3 days later. U.S. Marshals found Amin Hurst 1 week after that. And today I spoke with the retired Pennsylvania State Police Sergeant who believes the escape was likely planned at least days ahead.
For both of them to use other means and other resources to hide in various parts of the city and move around with assistance. They did orchestrate this plan well, although it wasn't well enough because, as we know, Grant was captured within 3 days and Hurst was captured a week later.
And he also commends U.S. Marshals for making the arrests of the 2 inmates who were believed to be dangerous without incident. Back to you.